You need to understand your position in this organization. Bradley Hoffman didn't even blink when he said it. His fingers were busy straightening the stack of papers in front of him, aligning the edges with mechanical precision. We were sitting in conference room 3B, the one with the flickering fluorescent light and the faint smell of industrial carpet cleaner that never quite masked the underlying odor of stale coffee. I'm Andy Richardson. I'm 58 years old. I don't have an MBA from some fancy business school. What I have is 22 years of keeping Apex Logistics Group running when everything else wanted to fall apart. Bradley had scheduled this meeting with a calendar invite at 8:47 a.m., annual compensation adjustment, confidential. I'd seen those invites before. They never meant good news. Confidential was corporate code for we're about to disappoint you and we don't want you discussing it with your colleagues. He slid the paper across the synthetic wood table. His watch caught the light, expensive and polished. The kind of detail you notice when someone won't look you in the eye. This outlines your updated compensation structure for the upcoming fiscal year, he said in that rehearsed monotone HR professional's perfect over years of delivering bad news. I looked down at the document. Senior Operations Manager, 22-year service, merit increase, 2.8%. And below that, in smaller font, like they hoped I'd skim past it, compensation aligned with organizational equity standards. I'd heard that phrase before. Last year, the year before that. Every single time someone questioned why their paycheck didn't reflect their actual contribution. Organizational equity standards. Corporate speak for, we've decided what you're worth and arguing about it won't change our minds. 2.8%, I said quietly. Correct, Bradley replied. That falls within the standard range for tenured operational staff. I leaned back in the uncomfortable chair that was probably designed specifically to make these meetings end faster. What about Jordan? Bradley's pen stopped moving, just for a fraction of a second. Then he forced a smile that looked more like a muscle spasm. I'm not sure what you're asking. Jordan Walsh, I said clearly, the new director of operational excellence. He started 6 months ago. The smile tightened into something brittle. I can't discuss another employee's compensation with you, Andy. You know that. He's making nearly double my salary, isn't he? Bradley set his pen down with deliberate care, buying himself time to calculate how honest he could afford to be. Jordan brings different qualifications to the organization, he said finally. Different how? He holds an MBA from a prestigious business school, Bradley said, sitting straighter like the credential itself added weight to his argument. He has extensive consulting experience. His role requires strategic vision that aligns with executive objectives. I let those words hang in the air for a moment, and I have 22 years of building every operational process this company runs. I've personally saved us from at least a dozen supply chain disasters. But Jordan has an MBA, so that's worth twice as much. Different roles command different market rates, Bradley said, his voice taking on that careful HR neutrality. Leadership positions are benchmarked differently than operational positions. That's standard across the industry. So operational expertise is worth half of what a degree in business administration is worth, I said evenly. Even when that operational expertise is literally keeping the company functional. Andy, I understand you're frustrated. I'm not frustrated, I interrupted. I'm clarifying. Because it sounds like you're telling me that someone with zero understanding of our supply chain, zero experience with our vendor relationships, and zero contribution to actually moving product is worth twice what I am. I just want to make sure I'm hearing that correctly. Bradley folded his hands on the table. Professional, controlled, unmoved by anything resembling logic or fairness. We benchmark compensation against external market data, he said, his voice cooling several degrees. Leadership roles command premium salaries. Credentials matter. Education matters. Translation. Titles matter more than competence. We value all our employees, he continued in that practiced recitation. But we have to maintain fairness across the entire organization. Translation. Know your place. There it was, not even dressed up anymore. The subtext had become text. I looked at him for a long moment. At his perfectly pressed shirt, at his expensive watch, at the checklist sitting next to my compensation document, my name at the top with little boxes he'd probably tick off the moment I left. Employee notified, expectations set, matter closed. Then I reached into my bag. Bradley tensed just slightly, like he thought I might pull out a legal document or a list of grievances, or maybe a lawyer's business card. Instead, I took out a single piece of paper, folded once, and placed it on top of his compensation document. My resignation letter. His eyes dropped to it. I watched the blood drain from his face as he read the first line. Effective immediately, I resigned from my position as Senior Operations Manager at Apex Logistics Group. Andy, he started, voice cracking slightly. I sent a copy to your inbox at 9:04 a.m., I said calmly. You'll see it when you check your email, along with copies to my direct manager, the VP of Operations, and Michael Torres. He blinked at the signature, at the date, at words that couldn't be unsaid or negotiated away. You don't need to make this decision right now, he said quickly, professional mask slipping for the first time. This is a significant step. Talk to your manager, sleep on it. We can revisit the numbers. I've been sleeping on it for 22 years, I said, standing. This is me waking up. Bradley opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. But you told me to understand my position in this organization, I said, picking up my bag. So I do, and my position is somewhere else. I left the resignation letter on the table and walked out. By 9:12 a.m., my security badge had been flagged for deactivation. By 9:18 a.m., my system access was being revoked across 15 operational platforms. By 9:23 a.m., I'd cleared my desk, boxed up my second monitor and the coffee mug that said World's Okayest Operations Manager, and walked past 4 colleagues who suddenly became very interested in their keyboards. By 9:31 a.m., the first critical alert started screaming. By 9:38 a.m., every operations manager in the building was in emergency mode, staring at cascading supply chain failures they'd never encountered before and had no idea how to stop. And at exactly 9:47 a.m., 36 minutes after I'd placed that resignation letter on Bradley's desk, Michael Torres was standing outside my apartment, jacket rumpled, hair disheveled, knocking like someone whose entire distribution network was collapsing, and he just realized he'd let the only person who understood it walk away. Andy, Michael said, not bothering with pleasantries, we need you back immediately. I looked at him through the gap in my doorway. His normally pristine suit was now wrinkled, tie loosened, face pale with something between panic and desperation. I don't work there anymore, I said. I know, he said, voice tight. But the entire supply chain is down. The warehouse management system crashed. We can't route any shipments. Nobody can figure out why. That sounds like your problem, I said, not mine. His jaw clenched. Andy, please, just for today. We'll pay you consulting rate, whatever you want. I shook my head slowly. No. Why not? Because 36 minutes ago, I said, your company made it very clear what I'm worth to them. So now you get to learn what your operations are worth without me. I closed the door, but let me back up and tell you exactly how we got here. When Apex hired me 22 years ago, they were a mid-sized logistics company trying to compete with firms 10 times their size. On paper, they provided supply chain management for regional manufacturers. In reality, they ran a fragile collection of warehouse systems, vendor relationships, and distribution networks held together with outdated processes, manual workarounds, and the desperate prayers of 2 exhausted operations managers. We had one primary distribution center in Ohio, one backup facility in Tennessee that had never been properly tested, a warehouse management system that could tell you something was wrong but not what or why, routing algorithms running on schedules nobody understood anymore, and documentation that was 18 months out of date on a good day. My interview was with the then CEO, a man named Richard Sterling who'd built his career on actual operational work before getting promoted into management and still remembered what logistics looked like. Can you keep this operation from falling apart? He asked, gesturing at a whiteboard covered in process diagrams that looked more like a crime scene sketch than a system design. Depends, I said. Can I actually fix things, or will I just be putting out fires? If you can justify the changes, he said, you can make them. Then yes, I said. He hired me that afternoon. The first few months I just observed and documented. Every failure, every warning sign, every workaround that was really just a disaster waiting to happen. I kept a physical notebook because digital documentation has a way of disappearing when someone decides it's not important anymore. That notebook saved the company more times than anyone ever knew. By year 3, I was the person everyone called at 2 a.m. when shipments went sideways. Not because I was on call, because I was the only one who'd seen these specific failure modes before and knew how to untangle them without making things worse. I became the institutional memory nobody wanted to admit they depended on. And for a while that was fine. The company grew. Revenue increased, executives got their bonuses, I got my 2.9% raises and company mugs. The shift started when Apex decided it needed to professionalize its leadership structure. That was the phrase used by the new CEO, Preston Cross, former management consultant brought in by the board to scale the business. Preston loved words like synergize and optimize and strategic realignment. He did not love words like operational risk or vendor dependencies or that's going to break if we don't address it first. Within 6 months, the company started hiring differently, less emphasis on people who understood how things worked. More emphasis on people who understood how to make things sound impressive in board meetings. We got directors with MBAs who'd never set foot in a warehouse. We got VPS who could talk about driving operational excellence but couldn't explain what a pick list actually did. We got consultants billing $500 an hour to tell us we should leverage best-in-class paradigms. And we got Jordan Walsh, MBA from a top-tier business school, 5 years at a strategy consulting firm, 0 operational background. His title, Director of Operational Excellence. His job, align operational initiatives with business objectives. Translation: sit in meetings, sound confident, and make sure every decision looked good in PowerPoint presentations. Jordan was excellent at that part. He knew how to talk, how to frame things, how to make a routine warehouse optimization sound like a transformative strategic initiative. What he didn't know, and didn't seem interested in learning, was how anything actually worked. He'd show up to planning meetings with questions like, can we just use AI to optimize this? Or, why don't we automate everything? The kind of questions that sound intelligent to people who don't know better and make operations managers want to scream. At first, I tried to be diplomatic. That's an interesting idea, but here's why it won't work in our environment. He'd smile, nod, then rephrase the exact same idea in the next meeting like I hadn't spoken. Eventually, I stopped explaining. I just started documenting his suggestions in meeting notes, along with the operational reasons they wouldn't work. That way, when they inevitably failed, there'd be a record. But Jordan didn't like being documented. He started routing around me, going directly to warehouse supervisors and asking them to just try something quick, promising them visibility, career opportunities, FaceTime with executives. That's how we ended up with a quick optimization on a Friday afternoon that rerouted 3 days' worth of shipments to the wrong distribution center because someone had implemented Jordan's suggestion without understanding what it actually did. I fixed it. I wrote the incident report. I added another entry to my notebook. New failure mode. Decisions made by people who don't understand consequences. Nobody read the incident report except the operations staff. Jordan got promoted 4 months later. I found out about the pay disparity by accident. One of the junior managers, Kevin Thompson, had been careless with file permissions. He'd uploaded Jordan's offer letter to a shared drive instead of his personal folder. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for a document Kevin had promised to upload about a new vendor contract. I clicked the wrong file, and there it was. Base salary, $142,000. Signing bonus, $15,000. Annual bonus target, 25%. Stock options, 8,000 shares. I stared at it. Then I opened my most recent pay stub. Base salary, $74,500, no signing bonus. Annual bonus target, 5%, which I'd received exactly once in 22 years. Stock options, 800 shares from my original offer, none since. 6 months at the company. 0 operational knowledge, 0 systems saved from catastrophic failure, making almost exactly double my salary. I closed both files. Then I sat there for a very long time, staring at nothing. I didn't get angry. Anger would have been simpler. I got clear. That evening, I updated my resume for the first time in 8 years. Within 2 weeks, I had 3 offers. Within 3 weeks, I'd accepted 1. All I needed was the right moment to leave. Bradley gave it to me. The outage lasted 14 hours. I didn't watch it happen in real time. I heard about it later in pieces from operations staff who were still willing to talk to me. Here's what I was told. At 9:19 a.m., the primary warehouse management system started throwing errors. Not complete failure, just elevated error rates. Kevin Thompson, the operations manager on duty, saw the alerts. He checked the procedures I'd written 3 years ago. The procedures said, if WMS shows elevated errors, check database connection pool and server load. He did. Everything looked fine. So he escalated to Steve Martinez, the senior operations manager. Steve did what he'd seen me do dozens of times. Opened multiple monitoring screens, reviewed system logs, looked for patterns. He saw something strange. The WMS was receiving orders. It was trying to update inventory, but the updates were timing out. Not immediately, just slow enough that retry logic was kicking in, which generated more update attempts, which made the problem worse. Steve recognized the pattern, but he didn't know why it was happening. The piece he was missing was in my notebook, written 18 months earlier after a similar incident. If WMS shows slow database updates and connection pool is normal, check backup replication lag. It doesn't auto failover and will silently queue writes, causing cascading timeouts. Nobody else knew that because I'd fixed it quietly, documented it in my notes, and added a monitoring alert that would catch it early. An alert that was now firing, but nobody was reading the alert description. They were just seeing elevated errors and assuming it was something else. At 9:33 a.m., Jordan walked into the operations center. "Why is the dashboard red?" he asked. "We're investigating," Steve said. "Investigating doesn't move product," Jordan replied. "Can't you just restart it?" Steve hesitated. "We need to identify the root cause first. How long will that take?" "I don't know." Jordan pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Michael." Michael Torres showed up 8 minutes later. He looked at the dashboard, at the error graphs climbing, at the operations staff who were clearly overwhelmed. "Where's Andy?" he asked. "He resigned this morning," Jordan said, "over a compensation issue." Michael's face went pale. "You let him walk? Today?" "I didn't let him do anything," Jordan said defensively. "He made a choice you forced," Michael snapped. Then he left to come to my apartment, which is when I closed the door in his face. By the time Michael got back to the office, the error rate had quadrupled. Major clients were calling. The largest one, a furniture manufacturer that did $18 million in annual business with Apex, sent an email with the subject line, "Service interruption. Immediate escalation required." Preston Cross, the CEO, got pulled into the crisis. He took one look at the dashboard and said, "Why can't we fix this?" "Because the person who built this infrastructure quit this morning," Michael said flatly. Preston's expression shifted from concern to fury in about 2 seconds. "Why did he quit?" Michael glanced at Bradley Hoffman, who'd appeared in the operations center. Bradley suddenly found the floor fascinating. "Compensation issue," Michael said carefully. "Fix it," Preston said. "Offer him whatever it takes." "I tried," Michael said. He said no. Preston stared at him. "Then offer him more." "It's not about money," Michael said. "It's about respect. And we just spent 22 years showing him we don't have any." The room went quiet. Then Preston turned to the operations staff. "Can you fix this without him?" Steve spoke up, voice tight. "We're trying, but there are configurations Andy implemented that aren't documented anywhere we can find. We can see the symptoms, but we don't know the root cause." "How long?" Preston asked. "Hours, maybe longer." "We don't have hours," Preston said. "Every minute this is down, we're losing money and credibility." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Andy myself." I ignored the call. He tried twice more. Both went to voicemail. He left a message. "Andy, this is Preston Cross. I understand there was an issue with your compensation this morning. I take full responsibility. Whatever you want, salary, title, equity, we'll make it happen. Please call me back. We need you." I listened to the voicemail, then I deleted it. By 1 p.m., they'd managed a partial fix. They restarted the database cluster, which cleared the connection pool. Data processing came back online for about 20 minutes. Then it crashed again, harder this time, because the restart had flushed a massive backlog of queued transactions all at once, and the downstream systems weren't designed to handle that spike. Now they had 2 problems instead of 1. By 3 p.m., 3 major clients had sent formal breach notices. By 4 p.m., the stock price had dropped 6%. By 5 p.m., they'd brought in an emergency consulting firm that specialized in infrastructure crisis recovery. The consultant spent 90 minutes asking questions, examining logs, and eventually admitted, "Without the original architect, this is going to take time, days, possibly weeks, to fully understand and stabilize." Preston looked at Michael. "You're telling me we're dead in the water because one operations manager quit?" "I'm telling you we're dead in the water because we treated one operations manager like he didn't matter," Michael said. "And now we're learning what happens when he's not here to save us." The outage was finally resolved at 11:17 p.m. Not because they figured it out, because Kevin Thompson finally found an old wiki page I'd written, buried in the company intranet, titled "Supply Chain Failure Modes and Emergency Recovery Procedures." It had everything. The replication lag issue, the timeout cascade problem, the exact steps to recover without causing secondary failures. I'd written it 3 years ago after an incident almost identical to this one, and nobody had read it until they had no other choice. Kevin followed the procedures step by step. It worked. Systems stabilized. Shipments resumed. The crisis was over. But the damage was done. The aftermath unfolded over the next 6 months. Here's what happened. Week 1. 2 major clients formally terminated their contracts. Combined annual revenue, $31 million. Preston held an emergency board meeting. Michael was instructed to fix the retention problem immediately. Jordan was quietly reassigned to a strategic advisory role with no direct reports. Bradley was let go, not officially for my resignation, officially for organizational restructuring. Week 3. Michael reached out to me again, not by phone this time, by email. Professional, contrite. He offered $128,000 base salary, nearly double my old pay. 18% annual bonus, 12,000 stock options, title bump to Director of Operations, direct reporting to him. The email ended with, "I know we failed you. I'm asking for a chance to make it right." I read it 3 times. Then I responded, "I appreciate the offer, but I've already started at my new company. I'm happy here. I hope you find someone who can help you rebuild. Best of luck." Month 2, a recruiter contacted me. Apex had posted an opening for Director of Operations. The job description was almost word for word what I used to do. The posted salary range, $115,000 to $145,000. They'd finally figured out what I was worth, a week after I left. Month 3. Preston commissioned an external audit of operational processes. The audit found over-reliance on undocumented individual expertise, insufficient knowledge transfer processes, and compensation misalignment with market rates for critical operational roles. The report's summary, which eventually leaked, the organization created a single point of failure by undervaluing the individual responsible for institutional knowledge. This represents a systemic failure of leadership. 4 executives were quietly asked to step down. Preston wasn't one of them, but his bonus was cut by 60%. Month 6, I got a LinkedIn message from Richard Sterling, the former CEO who'd hired me 22 years ago and had since retired. Heard what happened. I'm sorry, you deserved better. For what it's worth, I always knew they were making a mistake undervaluing you. If you ever want to grab coffee, let me know. I appreciated that. Not because it changed anything, because it confirmed what I'd always suspected. The people who actually understood operations knew what I was worth. It was the people who only understood spreadsheets who didn't. My new job was everything Apex wasn't. The company, a supply chain consulting firm called Pinnacle Logistics Solutions, had reached out to me through a recruiter 6 months before I quit. Back then, I'd politely declined, but I'd kept the recruiter's information. When I called her back after my resignation, she remembered me immediately. "You ready to move?" she asked. "I'm ready to be valued," I said. The interview process was fast. 2 conversations, 1 operational deep dive, 1 case study review. The CEO, a woman named Sarah Blackstone who'd spent 18 years doing actual logistics work before moving into consulting, asked me 1 question that told me everything I needed to know. "What's the worst operational failure you ever managed, and what did it teach you?" I told her about the routing disaster from 2 years ago, the one I'd documented and nobody had read. She nodded slowly. "If you join us," she said, "that documentation won't sit in an archive. It'll be required reading. We take knowledge sharing seriously because we've learned the expensive way that talented people leave. And when they do, we need to make sure the organization still knows what they knew." I accepted the offer that afternoon. Starting salary, $135,000. Bonus, 20%. Stock options, 10,000 shares. But more than that, respect. On my first day, Sarah introduced me to the consulting team. "This is Andy. He's joining us as a senior operations advisor. He has more real-world crisis management experience than most of us combined. When he tells you something about supply chain resilience, listen, because he's earned that authority the hard way. No asterisks. No, he's just an operational person. Just respect." Within 6 months, I'd helped 3 major clients avoid supply chain disasters by recognizing patterns I'd seen before. Within a year, I was leading a team of 4 consultants. Within 18 months, I was making $165,000 base with a $41,000 bonus. But the real vindication came 18 months after I left Apex. I got an email from Michael Torres. Subject, "Would you consider consulting?" The email explained that Apex was still struggling. They'd hired 2 operations managers to replace me. Both had left within 10 months. The institutional knowledge I'd carried was still missing. They wanted to bring me in as an external consultant. Quarterly reviews, process audits, knowledge transfer sessions. The proposed rate, $275 per hour. 6-month contract, estimated 80 hours. Total value, $22,000. For context, that was more than my entire annual raise had been at Apex. $22,000 for 80 hours of occasional consulting. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I called Sarah. My old company wants to hire me as a consultant, I said. What do you think? Do you want to help them? She asked. I'm not sure, I admitted. Part of me wants to say no on principle. Part of me thinks maybe they've actually learned something. Here's what I think, Sarah said. If they're willing to pay you what you're actually worth now, and if they've genuinely changed how they treat people, then maybe it's worth helping them. Not because they deserve it, because you'll know you took the high road. I did the consulting, not because I needed the money, because I wanted to see if they'd actually learned. The first session was a meeting with the executive team. Preston was there. Michael, the new VP of Operations, the board chair. I presented one slide. Why operational expertise matters more than credentials. I walked them through the incident. What had failed, why it had failed, why the failure was predictable, why someone with an MBA and no operational background couldn't have prevented it, why someone with 22 years of institutional knowledge could have. Then I showed them the financial impact. $31 million in lost contracts, $4.2 million in incident response costs, $1.8 million in emergency consulting fees, $750,000 in expedited shipping penalties, uncounted reputational damage. Total, over $38 million. All because they'd saved $53,500 by not paying me fairly. The ROI on undervaluing expertise, negative 71,698%. Preston stared at the slide for a long time. Then he said quietly, "We made a catastrophic mistake." "Yes," I said, "you did. How do we make sure this doesn't happen again?" I spent the next 4 hours walking them through what Pinnacle did differently, how they valued operational expertise, how they compensated based on impact rather than credentials, how they built systems for knowledge sharing so no single person became a critical dependency. At the end, the board chair asked me one question. If you were running this company, what would you do first? I'd apologize, I said, publicly, to every operations person you've undervalued, and I'd mean it. 2 weeks later, Preston sent an all-hands email. I wasn't there to see it, but Steve Martinez forwarded it to me. 18 months ago, we lost a critical operations manager because we failed to recognize his value. That failure cost us clients, revenue, and credibility. More importantly, it cost us the respect of the people who keep this company running. We've made changes to how we compensate operational talent, how we document institutional knowledge, and how we make decisions about retention. But those changes don't mean anything if we don't acknowledge what we got wrong. So I'm saying it clearly. We were wrong. We undervalued someone who deserved better, and we're committed to never making that mistake again. Steve added a note. People are actually talking about this. Some are skeptical, but some believe it. Thought you'd want to know. I did want to know. Not because it changed what happened to me, because it meant maybe the next operations manager wouldn't have to learn this lesson the same way I did. Here's the part nobody tells you about walking away. It's not satisfying in the way you think it'll be. You don't feel vindicated when the company crashes. You don't feel victorious when executives lose their jobs. You just feel clear. Clear that you made the right choice. Clear that your value was never defined by what they were willing to pay. Clear that sometimes the best thing you can do is let people learn what you were worth by experiencing what happens when you're gone. 3 years after I left Apex, I'm still at Pinnacle. I'm now a principal advisor, the highest operational role in the company. I make $165,000 base. My bonus last year was $41,000. I have enough equity that when we get acquired next year, and we will, I'll be financially secure for the rest of my life. But more than that, I'm respected. When I say something's going to break, people listen. When I document a failure mode, it becomes required reading. When I suggest we slow down to do something correctly, nobody tells me to understand my position. Because my position is exactly where expertise should be. At the table, with a voice, being heard. So here's the lesson, the real one. When someone tells you to understand your position, believe them. They're showing you exactly how much they value you. And when they do, you have two choices: stay and hope things change, or leave cleanly, professionally, with your dignity intact. The second option is terrifying, but it's also the only one that gives you back your power. Because the people who say anyone can do your job are the same people who have never tried. And the moment you stop doing it, they learn very quickly whether that was true. My name is Andy Richardson. I'm 61 years old now. I still don't have an MBA. What I have is expertise earned through decades of keeping complex operations running, respect I no longer have to fight for, and the clarity that comes from knowing my worth doesn't depend on whether someone else recognizes it. Sometimes people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. And that's not your problem to solve. It's theirs. That 36 minutes between my resignation and their desperation taught them more than 22 years of my work ever could. Your expertise has value, real, measurable, significant value. And if the people you work for can't see that, there are plenty of people who will. You don't owe your loyalty to organizations that don't respect you. What you owe yourself is the courage to walk away when you've had enough, and the wisdom to recognize that the most powerful thing you can say is, "I don't work here anymore."